The Cambio SRT, the two-hand aka Tier 2 tractor beam, is in the game, currently on the experimental PTU. It is available at Dumpers Depot, Crow's Customs, the Providence Platform Store, are some of the places that I've personally seen it at. There's a few different ones. I picked it up at Dumpers Depot at Area 18. And as I said in Orison, you can pick it up at the Providence platform at the two different stores there. They used larger canisters that you can mount like as if they're magazines. And the system is actually like a two-handed weapon currently. That may change, and the canisters may change in size, but they are triple the size of the multi-tool salvage material. It has two modes. It allows you to repair and salvage. The canisters come empty and they're very, very cheap. Uh, Finding material to fill this thing with so you have it on hand is kind of a pain point. I wish places like Dumpers Depot and the different scrap yards as well around the verse, around Stanton, had preloaded canisters. I would pay a premium for those so I could keep one or two of them on my person because I think that's exactly what a lot of engineers are going to do. While I don't classify myself as an engineer all the time, I could see these things being pre-slung, fully loaded down at 100% material um, at different parts of larger ships. So you can equip it, you can holster it, and carry it lowered just like a rifle. I think that might change over time, but the gist is the only customization you can do to it is you can put a different canister in. I have 126 canisters. That's what that's what that number means. You can strip it of its canister. It is a little, it's very, very early right now. The animations aren't fully in, but it's here. It has two different modes. So with the salvage mode, it almost looks like a crossbow getting strung together, especially when you're firing. And then it has a build mode. Build mode has those little brackets that pop up. That's build mode right now. And then when you hit B again, it goes back to crossbow salvage mode. You cannot salvage materials on the ground right now, at least based on the ones that I went to. I went to basically a hellscape on the side of Hurston, and I went there so you didn't have to. So, what can you salvage? Well, right now you can salvage just like you can with a multi-tool. You can salvage ships. So this is a good symbiotic relationship. If you're carrying a heavy armor with a backpack and such, and then you have yourself a two-handed tractor beam on the one side and the salvage tool on the other, you can make things work really well. This thing does have a longer range than the multi-tool. The multi-tool only has 0.5 of a meter range, which is only a couple feet, versus 5 meter effective range on this tool, over 15 feet. It is a considerable distance that it can travel and be still effective. You can see here that I'm literally salvaging in the base of an M2 front bay. So I literally just opened the ramp and I've got a salvage target. However, it takes a while to salvage with this thing, a whole ship. It feels like even this larger, more powerful salvage tool doesn't really want to, by itself, just do an entire ship. It's kind of like a patch jobber, salvage and build and repair tool. Targets need to be unshielded. It has a safety feature where if you try to do that, it won't explode or anything. It'll just give you a warning and it won't do anything on a shielded ship. So, for example, and that includes for the build right now at least. I don't know if it's gonna be bugged over time, but on my own personal ship, I was not able to do any type of repairs. It had shields active flashing on the UI. The UI has 2 points. So if you look dead center, you can actually see the little canister filling on the little screen. You see the battery is currently infinite. That will change. There are batteries in the game they've added alongside this thing. I don't think they're implemented yet, but I did have a whole stack of them on the ship just in case. But the canisters absolutely do fill up. And when you go to repair, they do use the canister material pretty quickly. So you'll see that the salvageable material interface is pretty nice. It shows you your RMC container, which remember is 3 times the size of the multi-tool salvage attachments, SRT or salvage tool thing. canister. However, we don't know how big these canisters are going to be. Now, I purposely put on heavy armor just as an attempt to kind of see where things could have stood. They can fit a ton of stuff fitting on the front of them, uh, but the interface is just not there. This is an example of this multi-tool kind of failing in this kind of ad hoc arrangement. It's just not far close enough. It's not even doing it lack of effectiveness. It's just worthless at this range. Whereas the Cambio SRT is just like, yeah, sure, I'll do it, no problem. And for those who haven't had familiarization with Salvage, what I'm doing is I'm skipping across the surface and I'm targeting the armor, kind of targeting all those different places. And as they're emptied out, it'll give you a warning if when you're in the right click mode. But it is kind of annoying to keep the right click mode up. So a lot of times I just left it running, and that small screen you see on the back of the machine on the back of the tool, I just kept my eye on that right side. That little bar kept filling up and filling up. So that's the canister filling up with material. And then I look straight ahead. If that beam is super bright and it's sizzling and everything, it's doing its thing, it's good. If there's no armor left in front of me and I miss and somehow don't notice that, that beam will get weaker over time, and then also that little bar will steadily not fill up. Now, over the course of time, we will have to use batteries, and this thing will consume bigger, more expensive batteries. So if you use it ineffectively, that would be a problem. So just keep that in the back of your mind that it's not all benefits. It is an amazing tool. It does take up an entire slot on your back that would otherwise be a rifle or another kind of two-hand tool. Um, so it is a pretty big ask, especially if you're only carrying light armor or some other type of system where you can only have one weapon slung on your back or one tool slung on your back. This is another example, though, of weapon racks will be very important. Over time, you will see the weapon racks become more and more critical because this is the type of tool that every ship is going to have at least one or two of these. And once again, ideally, they will sell filled canisters of material at a premium, at a top UEC premium in the different places that you call home, or at the very least, players. I could see them selling filled canisters. So it would be 750 millis of the materials sitting in these 100%ed filled canisters. I would pay for those because with UEC, because this is annoying. If I was constantly doing this, it would be kind of problematic for me. And I just don't see it. This is me weighing my options right here about, can I tractor beam this even closer? And I decide not to because I'm eyeing up those side panels, because it kind of changes your perspective when you're using this thing. You're like, well, if the side panels do break off, I could just repair them. Ha ha ha. You do start thinking that way. But at the end of the day, you can only repair so much. The system is not fully realized. And if you screw up too much, you could, in theory, blow the ship up or something like that, like the actual ship you're standing in, or get dislodged from it or something else. You do have a gigantic open bay door in front of you. So, and gravity is a thing. Relative velocities are a thing, I guess. When you start tractor beaming around a giant ship, even though so this is a class 2 size ship. So this is a cutter. A Drake cutter is a reasonably sized ship. It doesn't seem like that when you see the word starter ship, when you're looking on the hangar store in your My Hangar, or you're looking in the store. But in reality, you can see the salvageable material number is quite large. It's a full size ship. Obviously, other ships are far bigger, like the one we're standing in, but a ship like this with a hand tool being dissected is kind of silly. Somebody in real life would, if they went after an entire 18 wheeler and a tractor trailer attached to it, let's say, and they had to salvage it. Well, you could use an acetylene torch and just start chopping things apart. But at some point, you're going to have to like drop the torch and actually start like taking the pieces and like, okay, how am I actually going to move these things? How am I going to do this? But we play in Beamland here. So in StarCitizen, everything currently is beams, beams, beams. We have a beam that is physically sucking the material, disintegrating the material, and then energizing it and tractor beaming it towards you with a canister that can then compress it down and fit it all. That's my limited understanding of what is happening when you have this crossbow mode activated. And if you're ever wondering, you're not quite sure what is the crossbow mode or the bracket mode, and because they're not that dissimilar, especially when they're engaged, the beam does change effects. The noise does change a little bit. And then if you right click, like I'm holding right click right now, you'll see in the top right, there's salvaging. If it says repairing, it's repairing instead of salvaging. Now, right here at the tail end, I'll add a chapter just for the repair part. Because I have a theory that some people will do first look videos on this, and they won't, finish it up. A lot of times people rush to get these out, and they don't do each function, or at least cover which functions work and don't work. I mean, at the very least. So I'm gonna at least try to show you a basic level of how this thing builds. So you can see that it has the canister full message. Shields are active even when you have the repair out currently. But if you don't have shields active and you had damage, you can repair. Now you can see it actually gives you a repairing status. Note the repair word is also blue. That's a nice touch. Note the beam changes, and you can't hear it, but there is a noise change as well. So what's nice about this is you have a visual indicator that you're not accidentally ripping apart your friend's ship or something like that if you're trying to help. The blue writing is good. Blue good, red disintegrate. So that's a nice touch. And you can literally see the armor repairing itself in front of you. You do have to move it around just like when you're doing the salvage, but it's a pretty straightforward system. Now, the material is repaired, but the container fills up, at least based on what I've seen, slower than it's repairing. It seems like it chews up a lot of material doing repair work. But that is a first look at the Cambio SRT. It can be stored in the two-hand racks. It can be carried on the back. It does carry these larger canisters that are 3 times the size of the multi-tools. It is more powerful than the multi-tools. It has better range than the multi-tool. It is going to be more expensive, of course, than the multi-tool. Don't forget that the two-hand tractor beam is like 19K now, I think, UEC in the game. And that is the most expensive tool slash piece of kit you can get right now. I would certainly, when this thing actually drops properly and they calibrate the pricing, it's probably going to be up there in the same price as the two-hand tractor beam, this being the two-hand salvage tool and repair tool. This thing is going to be on the backs of many players. It is a vital piece of equipment, and while it may not be on everyone's back, I think it'll be on many people's ships, sitting in a rack somewhere filled with material, and you will be expected to know how to use it. All right, that's all I got for this moment. Thank you all for stopping by, and as always, thank you to my long-term subscribers for sticking around. Have a great one.